And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Put your thumbs up and say it's Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo, Tickety Boo, everything's Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo, son. Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tickety Boo. Today we're talking about the small decisions that quietly shape your life. The ones that don't feel important at the time, but do quietly shape everything. Because I don't think most people's lives change because of big moments. I think they change because of the small things, repeated moments like who you spend your time with, what you say yes to, and what you tolerate. Something I keep coming back to is this idea called the average rule, that you are or are shaped more by the 5 people closest to you. And the older I get, the more I think there's something really true in that, not in a bad way, but in a way that makes you think about who you give your time to. I think probably the best way for us to start chatting about this is I maybe not so much today, but in my past can look back at my average rule of 5 and realise where my problems were. Does
That's
that
an interesting way to look at it.
kind of resonate with you a bit?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting because I can see what I was choosing to do was very much based on who I was hanging around with at the time.
Yeah.
Now, whether I was being influenced or choosing to be there or choosing, maybe I was the one doing the influencing. But yeah, I can see that. It's like you find people who are going to participate in the things you want to participate in.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Whether they're healthy or unhealthy.
Yeah.
Whether it's you choosing to be influenced or them actually influence you without your knowledge.
Choosing or tolerating. I mean, I think, I don't think you always recognise when you're in it.
No, you don't recognise it when
The
you're in it.
dynamic that, and the influence that dynamic has on you, you know, the way you are, the way that you think, the things that you agree with, the things you go along with. I mean, like, if we take it super simple, if you're somebody that health means a lot to you and you want to live a healthy lifestyle, but you have a partner that constantly lives on takeaways, you can see how you could easily get pulled into that. Now, that's a light-hearted version of it, but you kind of get where I'm going with this. And I think big chapters of our lives are consumed by stuff that we're not happy with or we feel stuck in, but we're not really curating what's going on around us and who unconsciously influences us and our behaviours, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Particularly the unconscious part, because you may not know it, and also who we choose to have around us. When I was releasing my first book, I did have someone challenge me who I thought who should have been cheering me on, shall we say. And I basically walked away from that relationship because I knew it was going to be hard enough to go public when you're putting yourself out there. I didn't need somebody who was in my inner circle bringing me down. And so that was an extreme version. And I walked away from that friendship.
Yeah.
That's having that awareness, isn't it? Stop and seeing who do I have around about me? Because let's be honest, we actually don't have a choice in some of the people we have around about
That
us.
is so true.
Yeah,
That's
true.
That's so true.
Yeah,
I mean,
your parents, your siblings, who you're married to. And,
that is so true. I mean, we're going to deeper dive into this into another episode, but I think family and partners is the one thing that it is the key influencer here. I mean, even if you look at your family unit, and I'm talking about your parents and your upbringing and how a lot of your conditioning and blueprinting has come from them. And we're not blaming or criticizing them, but actually they have kind of installed this sort of first roadmap into us. And a lot of the times we're conforming to other narratives.
Yeah, you're on automatic pilot without realizing it, that you've been influenced in the direction you're going from the environment we grew up in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind saying it. There's certain members of my family that I keep this side of my life, the well-being, mental health, completely away from. Not because they're bad people, they're just not the right people to connect in with this kind of stuff. They have a very different view on life and they look at things slightly different. And they just have this ability to say things that you kind of ruffle feathers, if that kind of makes sense. So it's another audience.
Yeah, and that's okay. It's okay, and it's accepting that people do things differently, and
They do.
what works for you isn't going to work for someone else.
I think when we look at this average of 5, I think that can influence what we say yes to and what we accept, because we sometimes don't like to not go with the general consensus, go with the flow. You don't be the one person going, no, I want to go in this direction while everybody else is going in this direction. You get friendships, family units, relationships, some of which are pulling in the same direction and want the same things. But then you get groups where there's some want this and some want that, and that's where conflict and frustration and agitation can creep in. And I can recognise that in groups in my life.
What's guiding who you choose to spend time with? Your principles, then?
Yeah.
Underneath
Values.
that, yeah.
Who deserves your time, energy,
Yeah,
and attention? Not earns,
Yeah.
deserves. But that comes back into what we were saying in previous episodes. Well, it does for me anyway. In this 5, is it feeding into my need for peace and fulfillment?
Yeah.
Because if in a 5 or in a group, if there's something that's pulling me away from that, then I need to look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That comes back to values, doesn't
you
it?
know, yeah, you have very strong values there. You know what.
Well, it's took me about 130 years
Doesn't matter.
to figure them out.
But you got there in the end.
Got there in the end.
That's
And by the way, I don't always get it right. Sometimes I forget to check in with the values and I make decisions that aren't right. But sometimes I find it around certain energies and certain people harder to stay aligned with the values because part of me wants to keep the status quo with them.
Well, and with them, do you think it's a matter of falling back into the same old patterns? It just feels
Old programming,
easier?
old programming,
Yeah.
old conditioning. And
familiarity.
and I do think we have different versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
We've had this. We did an episode on different versions of ourselves. Like when I go into certain friendship groups, I become a different version of me while I'm in that energy. And I'm happy to stay in it for a short period of time, but not all of the time, if that kind of makes sense to you. But like, there's a different version of me that's in the therapy room. I don't want to be that person when I'm, hanging around, with mates. So like, I've got a friendship group and we go back years and years and years and we're all really close. It's a great thing, but a lot of the connection is around drinking. Yeah, and I'm one of these people when it comes to alcohol, I can take it or leave it. I can go 4 months and not have it, and then I can have a few beers. But actually, I genuinely prefer life when I'm not drinking much. But when I go there to engage with them, I drink more than I normally do. But it's normally for 24 hours or 48 hours, not solid drinking, but you know what I mean? I'm down in that space, in that persona for 48 hours. And then I come back into my default. And I think that's okay because, you've been flexible. I'm not being rigid. But if that was my all the time.
So would you consider this then? So when we talk about the 5 people we surround ourselves with, so we have the inner group, the inner circle.
Yeah.
Those are the people that we can be ourselves with 100%.
Yeah.
And then we have like the other people, the other friendship groups, like there's nothing wrong with them, but they're just, they're in the next circle out, so it's that, the ever widening circle. So, and then there's acquaintances sort of like further out, but because I think it's not to say we can only have 5 people. Choose really carefully. Like choose your inner circle really carefully.
Yeah.
And you can have other multiple friendship groups if you wish.
Totally. Yeah. But like if you're trying to move forwards in life and, you want to grow as a person, I want to be around as much energy that's wanting that.
It's so important.
Yes.
Because it moves you, part of that collective moving you forwards. By the way, that group I referred to earlier, they would be totally cool if I went and didn't drink. So there's no like, it's just that's another sort of version of me that I drop into short term and then I come back out of. And I don't think that is unhealthy at all. But that's not my constant.
Well, it's not, you're not losing yourself to
No.
it because you're going over there, you're going on whatever trip and being
But-
in it for a bit, then you're leaving. So you're choosing.
Yeah, I think the problem is when that situation becomes you lose yourself in your work
Yeah.
or in a friendship group or in a family unit dynamic, you dilute yourself.
A relationship.
A relation, or even a relationship, and then you say yes to things, or you tolerate things that you're unhappy with, or you regret later. So, what actually happens in those moments is your life is shaped by what you agree to
Yeah.
and what you go along with.
And if it's going against principles, that
Principles.
you might not even are
Yeah.
aware of the principles that you have because you've not taken the time
Yeah.
to sit down and
Which means you say no to yourself all the time.
Well, everything we say yes to is a no to something else, which actually may be something we would prefer to do because we can't do everything all at once. So I've certainly said yes too fast, too many times, and then gone,
Yeah.
practically walking home, don't want to. Oh, I don't want to do that, or I wish I hadn't agreed to that, or why
Yeah.
did I say yes again? Because we
Yeah.
teach other people what is acceptable for us. We teach other people how to treat us.
We do.
So
Yeah.
we have to choose. One of the best things I do now is I pause and I'll sleep on it. Because as I've shared, I have been quite impulsive in my life. So I tend to like to sleep on things purely so that I can think it through and not have that, buyer's remorse immediately.
Yeah. I think what you tolerate over time just becomes your standard though, doesn't it? It's just where you stay. It sort of slowly, quietly creeps in and you find yourself adjusting. And then over a period of time, you don't actually recognize yourself and you don't really feel right. So like when I'm here with you guys and we're focused on doing this or creating learning or something like that, I love being in that energy, but I equally love to go home and then turn that off.
Yeah.
And just become the home version of me. And I think the problem is when your standard that you tolerate is kind of like everywhere in your life, in your friendship groups, at work, in your relationships, and then you really do, feel that life is the way life is interfering with you and it's disrupting your standards all the time.
Yeah.
If that's all, mate. Like you guys here make it really easy for me to keep my standards of learning and growing and self-reflecting because we're all equally in it. Mm-hmm. If that all makes sense. And I think that's what we need to look at. And what we allow to continue happening. We don't very often reflect on that. How many times you allowed, normally it's close friendships or family, a behaviour to play out because you just go, that's the way that they are. Or,
you don't want to rock the boat.
don't rock the boat. It is what it is. But that does kind of eat away at you a bit, doesn't it?
It does, and then maybe you stop hanging around with that person, or it's difficult when it's a family member because sometimes
Or it's your kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We're not saying we don't love our kids, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that can really, we've had conversations when our two kids were about the same sort of age, and I'm like, yep. I hear you loud and clear. But yeah, I think that recognizing this around you and doing something.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I wouldn't like to give advice of what that doing something is, but I think you have to first recognize that something is off. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, have you ever been forced where you've had to make a decision? Like, this is like, enough's enough now. I'm done with this. Or have you had the conversation?
I think more often than not for me, it's generally been just a gradual start doing different things.
The slow fade we
It's
talked about
a
earlier.
slow fade.
Yeah.
More often than not, and I think the only extreme noticeable one is the one I already shared earlier. Yeah, I think it's generally a slow fade, and in the moment I've not recognized it. It's only
Yeah.
looking back and gone, oh, like noticing I'm not seeing that social group, or noticing that I'm not going to those sorts of events. It's just a gradual in the choices that I'm making and what I'm choosing to do instead.
Yeah.
And yes, it's not black or white. It's like, it's a gradual fade.
Yeah, I think with friends, it's very
Yeah.
much like that. I would say my relationship's such a long relationship that we've grown together, and we've grown at different times. So there's times when I've grown and he's not really there, and it's
So
having hard conversations like, this isn't working for me anymore. It's feeling really off.
Yeah.
What do we do about this? Because we could go in different directions,
Yeah.
or we could decide to come together.
together.
Yeah,
You
make a
choose
compromise,
to come
yeah.
together and do that. And that's the difficult bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because sometimes one leads and one will either follow or stagnate.
Yeah.
And then resistance, or, can kind of creep in, and a bit of frustration. And it is, you have that conversation. And I think the problem is when you don't have that conversation, the avoidance, the
Because
avoidance of it.
It's having the hard conversations, which we've been talking a lot about recently, communicating, being honest, and showing up and choosing and realizing you're getting to choose and grow together again. I mean, that's amazing.
But I think, for me, I was very much guilty in my, relationships, whether that's friendships, families, personal relationships, was I massively overrated intensity, and I was completely not looking for consistency. And now I look for consistency in people.
Yeah.
Inconsistency in people is, for me, it really frustrates me.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that.
Does that kind of make sense to you? If someone's inconsistent with me, and there's these peaks and troughs, and drama, no drama, then a period of calm, then there's something else, and then there's no. I'm like, I just want people to be consistent. Like if we do a podcast, we say, right, we're meeting on this day, we're here at 10. You turn up, you do the thing. And it's like those little things in life where you're just like, yeah, they just do it.
Yeah. So consistency, doing the thing they say they're going to do, showing up, being, even if they're not present all the time, you know that they're there should you need them.
Yeah. Or it's, people owning their stuff rather than their stuff becoming your stuff.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, well, now I'm carrying this as well, and I feel like I need to fix this or resolve it or deal with it. I just think, it's that small actions of what these people do around you that has the danger of starting to shape your own identity, or you want to be pulled back in. And I think that's what you want to be aware of. We're not saying these are bad people. They're just not on the page that you're on. And you're like, I don't want to go back to that page. I'm happy on the page that I'm on. So you want consistency.
Yeah.
If you're moving forwards, that person doesn't necessarily have to be on that pace of moving forwards with you, but you don't want them so far back in the rearview mirror that you can't even see them anymore.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Okay. That went in a completely different direction that I thought it was going to go in.
Sometimes these do. I love it when that happens.
Yeah, I think when you start to look at things like this and you start to make small changes in your life and the way that you view these situations, life changes massively, like hugely. We call it the butterfly effect. One small decision starts to change everything, but you don't see it at the time. But one choice leads to another choice, which leads to another choice.
And our choices matter, and what we're doing. And I know we've mentioned it before, like if somebody from outer space was watching you in how you're showing up, in what you're doing, who you're interacting, what would they think actually matters to you? What would they think is important to you?
Yeah.
And quite often you find that people, it's like something completely different. Like, well, actually, this isn't what I'm into. What I'm into is completely in a different direction. That's what matters to me. And so it's having the courage to make those subtle changes, sometimes taking small steps in the direction that you want to be for the changes that you want to have happen. It doesn't need to be huge, dramatic, and upsetting, like tipping the apple cart over.
Yeah.
But it's really having a look and seeing, are you doing and living with your values, with your intentions, with what actually matters to you?
And what you tolerate.
Yeah.
I think that's a key thing. One of my biggest bugbears is people that are consistently late. See, like if we arrange to do something and there's a time and, of course people can be late, traffic, children, life events. But what I'm talking about is a consistent pattern of late. Like you're turning up going, I know they're not going to be there. And, they'll turn up with some excuse. And I tolerated that for a large proportion of my life. And one of the choices, I'm not tolerating that anymore. Because if I can make the effort to be there on time, you should be able to make the effort to be there on time. And I actually went, this is actually somebody making a choice to be late, which means they're not making our interaction at that point a priority. And I'm going to make me a priority because my time is important. My time is value. And that might seem really vain, but it's not. It's because those little frustrations, they build over time, if that kind of makes sense. And it's like, but old me would like, just take it because the connection remains. And I'm just at a point in my life going, no, like I'm not going to do that anymore. Maybe that makes me selfish. I don't know, but I think it's fair.
No, I think that's living with what's important to you and protecting your own values. Why would you not?
Well, I think one of the biggest, the other thing is do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
That's
a big one.
I think in this world today now, very few people from organisations actually deliver what they say they're going to deliver. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you can't do it, tell them you're not going to do it. But I find today, like very few people actually follow through on what they say they're going to do. And you end up going, I'll just do it then. And then this kind of frustration creeps in. And that's where I would slow fade. I wouldn't have I'm sick and tired of you. I slow faded on a handful of friends that did that timekeeping thing to me. And I'm not talking like 5 minutes late. I'm talking 35, 40 minutes late. Almost as long as we were due to be together. And I think these small choices about what you tolerate, what's around you, and who's influencing you and what you're getting drawn into, whether it is partner, family, or friends, is one that we're all guilty of times of neglecting, but actually will impact your life massively.
Yeah, and if we think about those small changes we can make, like if somebody going to come to health, like if somebody wants to work out and get stronger, so I've been going to the gym. I've been there since last August. I couldn't have the strength that I have now if I hadn't done its small little changes, adding a little bit more weight, increasing your reps. It's the small changes that get you to where you are. It's not like you don't wake up one morning and just like suddenly the strongest woman in the world.
Yeah, but the environment needs to support you.
Yeah.
Like say, you've made this choice to look after your health and get fitter and lift some weight and do stuff, and you'll probably be supplementing that with eating good food and nourishment. If you're on that journey and you walk through the door and your partner sat there with a kebab and chips, not saying that they can't have a kebab and chips, or, I see it in the therapy room, people come in and go, I want to stop smoking, but my partner still smokes.
That's difficult.
I'm like, and the reason I've said that is, as you're listening to this episode, you've got to ask yourself, is your environment in support of your change, or is it actually flying in the face of your change? Because there are some things you won't be able to shift; they won't budge. But there are other things you absolutely will be able to. If you're like, you've made a choice, you don't want to drink for whatever reason, for health reasons. Well, you don't even need to justify that reason. But your social group constantly want to go out and drink, and you're like, do I need to limit my time there and put my energy over here with this group of friends who actually alcohol's not? You get what I mean?
Is it a natural, taking yourself away from that?
You've been really open about your childhood, and you were the champion of drinking and all things drugs.
I was very good at it.
But if you hang around with a load of people that do that, you become a byproduct of that, don't you? And you end up conforming to that. And in order for you to change, you probably had to change who your audience were.
Yeah, and it was definitely when I was doing it to fit in, particularly in my teenage years, that was a conscious choice that I made.
To fit in?
To fit in.
Or were you rebelling, or both?
Well, it's probably a bit of both, to be honest. Yeah, you've heard my stories.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, it's very different. So that was the choice I was making. Like, I'm going to be if I'm going to do it well, I'm going to do it really well. And so I did.
I'm going to be the best at it.
I'm going to be the best teenage underage drinker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know the point when you decided, I'm not wanting to do that now. I want things to be different. As part of that process, you have to look at who you spend your time with, where
and what
your
you're choosing to do on a daily basis.
and what you choose to do on a daily basis. You've got to, at some point, do an audit, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we don't do in life. Is your tribe, your community, the influencing factors around you, championing you, and are they rowing the boat or are they drilling holes in the bottom of it?
And how important is the change to you? Because that will maybe determine if the change is really important.
Yeah.
If you do sort of move away from certain people.
Well, the thing is, you don't have to agree with the person's change, but you can respect it and say, how can I help and how can I support you? Because genuinely, if you make a choice to go in a different direction to do something, I'm happy for you. I don't want to go, no, actually, I'm more comfortable when you're over here because I feel better about myself, because that's a bit of a paradox, isn't it? As soon as you start shifting, people around you go, I don't like it because you're now making me look at parts of myself that I'm ignoring. Please come back to default so I can feel comfortable. So if you are thinking, actually, do you know what, I'm going to make some changes, don't be surprised if a few people in your inner circle aren't over the moon with it or a little bit resistant. And that's okay, because it's normally a sign that you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah? I think that's fair to say.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah, totally. Well, there we go. Down another rabbit hole. Focus on that butterfly effect. Small decisions compounded over time, they will lead to dramatic changes in your life. As always, we really appreciate you watching and listening, and we look forward to catching up with you in the next episode.
Before we go, if you're going through something right now, please do talk to somebody. A friend, a family member, anyone you trust. And if you need a bit more support, contact your GP or NHS 24 on 111 or the Samaritans on 116 123. They are always at the end of a phone, or alternatively, visit the Peace of Mind website. Links are in the episode description. You are not alone in this. Take care of yourselves. Catch you in the next episode.